Before the world had a name, she was the world. A spear of pure lightning hangs frozen in a dead and silent sky, aimed straight at the heart of the oldest living thing. Below it spreads an ocean the size of everything that is, and it lifts its vast, unblinking eyes to meet the falling blade. In a single heartbeat, a young god will tear her body open and build the heavens and the earth from the pieces. He will call her Chaos, a monster, the devourer, the ancient enemy of all order, and every living thing will believe him. But every triumphant word of that song was written long after by the very same hand that drove the spear. So before the blade falls, before the first morning, ask the one question the victors worked so hard to bury forever. Was she ever truly the monster they swore she was? Or was she the oldest mother of everything that breathes? This is the making of the whole world, and for once it is told from inside the dragon herself. Go back, past the first sunrise, past the first word, to when nothing at all yet had a name. In the very beginning, there is no above and no below, no sky stretched overhead, no firm ground to stand upon. Heaven has not yet been named, the dry land has not been called, and not one single thing yet knows what it is. There is only water, dark and endless and warm, two great waters poured so close together they move as one breathing whole. One of those waters is Apsu, the fresh and the still, the sweet deep springs that will one day sleep beneath the world. The other water is Tiamat, the salt sea, the bitter and boundless mother whose ancient body has no shoreline and no end. They are not gods who stand apart from creation. They are creation itself, mingled so completely that no line can divide them. She is everything there is, and deep inside her warm and lightless waters, something stirs for the very first time and begins to grow. From the mingling of her salt and his sweetness, the first gods are born, taking shape inside her like pearls inside a shell. Lamu and Lahamu rise up first, made of silt and shimmer, the eldest children drawn gently out of their mother's quiet tide. Then come Anshar and Kishar, the rim of heaven and the rim of earth, growing tall and bright within the womb of the sea. And from them come still more, generation upon generation, until the calm waters of the deep are crowded with young and restless life. Tiamat watches her countless children spread and multiply, and she is content, for every last one of them is flesh of her own flesh. She is the first mother of all, and the entire shining bloodline of the gods begins and ends inside her body. But the young gods are loud, and they dance without ceasing, and they churn her ancient waters into a noise that never stops. There is no day yet, and there is no night, but still the endless racket of the children rolls on and on. Apsu, the old sweet water, can no longer rest, and a slow and bitter anger begins to harden somewhere inside him. He comes to Tiamat with a plan, whispered low and dark, a plan to make the deep silence of the beginning return. He means to destroy them, all of them, every loud and ungrateful child, and drown the young world back into its first stillness. And here, at the very first crossroads of all creation, the mother of everything is asked to murder her own children. Tiamat refuses him, and her voice goes cold and steady and slow against the rising rage of her ancient consort. Why, she asks him, should the two of them tear apart the very things that they together brought into being and love? Their ways are troublesome, yes, and their noise is hard to bear, but no true mother slaughters the children she has made. Let us be patient, she tells him gently. Let us simply endure, for there is no glory in devouring our own kind. This is the truth that the conqueror's hymn would later carefully erase, that the dragon's very first choice was mercy, not war. But Apsu's heart is already shut against her, and behind her back he keeps on sharpening his secret and terrible plan. Mercy, it turns out, is not nearly enough to stop what is already moving in the dark. Word of the killing plan slips loose at last, carried on the currents until it reaches the cleverest of all the young gods. His name is Ea, and he is wise far beyond his years, and he understands at once that to wait now is to die. So he does not wait, and he does not warn his ancient grandmother, and he does not ask the mother of all for any help. Instead, he carefully weaves a spell of deep and heavy sleep, and he pours it slowly out over the old sweet water. Apsu's bright eyes grow dim, his great current slows and stills, and the primordial god of the deep drifts helplessly under. And while Apsu lies drowned in dreamless sleep, unable to lift even a single hand, Ea moves in close and quiet. He strips the helpless old god of his crown and his glory, and then he kills him there in the silence of his sleep. The first murder in all of creation is done in shadow against one who could not even open his eyes to see it coming. And the clever young god does not stop there, for he raises his own bright house directly on top of Apsu's still body. He builds his shining home upon the corpse of Tiamat's husband, and he names it as his sacred and victorious dwelling place. No one punishes him, no one even thinks to question it, and the murder of the great consort simply passes into silence. Somewhere out in the vast dark sea, Tiamat feels the sweet fresh water go cold and motionless beneath her forever. Her consort, the other half of the very first whole, the one she lay mingled with before time began, is simply gone. And the gods who killed him do not mourn him at all. They celebrate, and in Apsu's stolen house a new god is born. His name is Marduk, and he is beautiful and terrible, with 4 bright eyes and 4 ears and pure fire in his breath. The doting young gods hand him the 4 winds as a plaything, and he plays, and his storms lash the great sea raw. The grieving mother of all cannot find rest, for the children of her children whip her waters until she cannot lie still. They taunt her, they provoke her, they call her weak and shameful for letting her own husband be slaughtered without revenge. How can you simply sit there? They sneer at her, while the one who lay beside you was put to death like nothing at all. And something deep inside the oldest water, something patient and ancient and terribly slow, finally begins to turn and to wake. The mother who would not raise a single hand against her children is learning at long last exactly what they have made of her. They wanted a monster. Grief and grievance are about to hand them one they will never forget. Tiamat rises, and for the first time since the very beginning, the whole boundless sea is moving with a single, furious purpose. If they will not let her grieve her husband in peace, then she will finally give them the war they keep demanding of her. Out of her own vast and ancient body, she begins to make an army, pulling living shapes from the deep like a sculptor. She fashions 11 different kinds of monster, and in place of warm red blood, she fills each of them with stinging venom instead. Serpents pour out of her first, sharp-fanged and tireless, their endless coils sliding and gleaming out of the churning dark water. Great horned dragons rise up beside them, crowned with terror, their towering bodies built to make even the gods turn and flee. She raises the snarling lion demon and the rabid mad dog and the scorpion man with his high-arched and deadly sting. She calls up howling nameless storms and the staring fish man and the trampling bull man and a horde that knows no mercy. 11 living terrors, all of them born of one mother's grief, now stand ready in the deep, waiting only for her word. And to lead this monstrous host, she chooses one single god above all the others, a god named Kingu, and she lifts him high. She makes Kingu her champion and her new consort, and she sets him in command over the whole venomous and waiting army. Then she takes up the tablets of destiny, the holy objects that alone decide who truly rules the gods, and she gives them away. She binds the sacred tablets onto Kingu's chest with her own 2 hands, and in that moment, all cosmic authority becomes his. Whoever holds the tablets commands the heavens themselves, and now they ride into the coming war bound over the heart of her champion. The sea that was once nothing but gentleness is now an endless ocean of teeth, rolling slowly toward the bright homes of the gods. And in their high and shining halls, the young gods who once mocked her look out at the rising dark and slowly fall silent. For the first time, the children truly understand exactly what their mother is and exactly what their own cruelty has awakened. The frightened gods send out their bravest to face her, and Ea, the very one who murdered Apsu, goes first to meet the sea. But when wise Ea finally sees the army of venom and the towering dragon at its head, all of his courage simply drains away. He turns and he flees, and he comes crawling back to the assembly with empty hands and a face gone white with terror. So next, they send out Anu, the great Sky Father, mightiest of all the elder gods, to carry their terms across the waters. And Anu too looks upon Tiamat in the full height of her fury, and Anu too turns his proud back and runs for home. Then they send strong Enlil, lord of the wind and the storm, and even he returns, having never once dared to strike her. 3 of their greatest champions go out, and 3 times each one comes back, having never landed a single blow upon her. No one will face her, not the wise, not the mighty, not the eldest of them all, for she is simply greater than every god. A gray despair settles over the whole assembly of the gods, and they sit in their high halls like men already defeated. The mother they so deeply wronged is coming for them, and there is not one among the old powers who can hope to stand. Then a single young god rises to his feet in that silent hall, the Storm Child, who was born in the murdered father's house. Marduk steps forward into the firelight, and he says that he will go and fight the dragon, but he will not do it for nothing. "Save us," the trembling elder gods beg him, and Marduk names his price for them with the cold and perfect clarity of a merchant. If he wins, he tells them, then his word alone shall stand above every god, and his decree shall fix all destinies forever. His heroism is not a gift freely given. It is a hard contract, and the price of saving the world is the throne of the world. The desperate, terrified gods agree to every single word, and they crown him their king before the battle has even begun. To test him, they set a constellation before him and command it to vanish and return at his word, and it instantly obeys. Satisfied with his new and total power, the young Storm King turns to arm himself for the duel that will decide everything. Marduk takes up a great bow and fits a sharp arrow to its string, and he hangs a crushing mace at his side. He sets a crackling lightning before his face, and he fills his whole body with a leaping and unquenchable flame. He weaves an enormous net to trap the boundless sea inside it, and he posts the 4 winds to guard its every corner. Then he summons the storms, the tempest, and the typhoon, and the screaming whirlwind, and the cruelest of all the winds that blow. He raises the evil wind, the most pitiless blast in all the air, and he holds it ready and coiled inside his fist. He has captured the entire sky and bent it into a single weapon, and now he climbs aboard his roaring chariot of storm. 4 monsters of his own, sharp-toothed and filled with poison, are yoked and harnessed before him to pull him into the war. And so the young Storm King rides out across the silent deep to meet the ancient mother of the gods in single combat. The youngest god of the storm against the oldest god of the sea. Only one of them will make the world. They come face to face at last, the boundless ancient ocean and the bright young god of the howling and ravenous air. Marduk lifts up his voice and challenges her, daring the great mother of all to come out and face him entirely alone. Tiamat hears the child of her own children calling out for her death, and a terrible fury rises through all of her depths. She does not retreat and she does not bargain. She gathers herself up into a single wave that blots out all the light. The two of them rush together at last. The storm and the sea and the whole of unmade creation holds its trembling breath. Marduk casts his vast net out wide, and it falls all around her, tangling the endless ocean helplessly within its cords. Tiamat opens her enormous mouth to swallow the little god down whole, the way the sea swallows every single thing in the end. And that gaping mouth, flung open so wide to devour him, is the one fatal opening the cunning Storm King has been waiting for. Before her great jaws can ever close again, Marduk drives the evil wind straight down into her, filling her from deep within. The cruel, howling wind roars and swells inside her body, and now she cannot shut her mouth, and she cannot force it back out. Her own boundless vastness is turned against her as the wind stretches her wide, holding the mother of all helplessly open. She is pinned. She is bloated with the storm. She is held gaping and powerless by the very air she can no longer expel. And in that one single stolen instant of her weakness, Marduk fits his arrow and draws the bowstring all the way to his cheek. He does not defeat her with greater strength at all. He defeats her with a trick, with one perfect moment of cruel surprise. The arrow leaps from the string, and it flies true, and it strikes deep into the heart of the oldest living thing in all creation. The boundless ancient sea that was the whole universe shudders once, from edge to distant edge, and then begins to fall still. Tiamat, the first mother, the cosmos itself given a face, sinks down into a silence far deeper than the one before creation. Her monstrous army watches their maker fall, and the 11 terrors scatter in panic, and the entire venom host breaks and flees. Kingu is seized and dragged away in chains, the tablets of destiny ripped from his chest, his reign over before it ever began. And the young Storm King stands victorious upon the stillness of the sea, the whole unmade world lying open and waiting at his feet. He has won at last. Now he needs the body of his enemy to build a home for the gods. Marduk gazes down at the vast and silent body of Tiamat, and a cold and terrible idea begins to take shape in his mind. He will not bury her, and he will not mourn her. Instead, he will use her, every last enormous part of her. He takes up his blade, and he splits the great mother cleanly in two, the way a fisherman splits a fish to dry it. He lifts her upper half and stretches it high above the world, and her great body becomes the soaring dome of the sky. Her arching back now holds the upper waters back in their place, the firmament that keeps the flood from drowning the world below. Her lower half he presses down beneath to form the solid ground, the patient earth that will one day cradle all of life. The sky overhead and the earth underfoot, the entire frame of creation, are nothing more than the divided body of the dragon. Where her two great eyes once gazed up at the heavens, he opens two deep springs, and the very first rivers begin to flow. From the eyes of Tiamat herself pour the Tigris and the Euphrates, the twin rivers that will one day cradle all of civilization. Every city and every harvest and every empire yet to come will drink its whole life straight from the eyes of the murdered mother. He takes her enormous tail and sweeps it up across the darkness and bends it forever into the glittering band of the Milky Way. Her spittle he scatters far into the high cold air, and there it becomes the drifting clouds, the soft mist, and the falling rain. From this day forward, every storm that ever breaks and every raindrop that ever falls is the breath and the weeping of Tiamat. The weather itself, the rivers themselves, the whole wide sky above us, all of it is her, simply remade and renamed by her killer. But the new king of the gods is not finished yet, for the gods are weary of their endless toil and they long to rest. So Marduk and Ea dragged the chained champion Kingu before the full assembly to answer for the war that he was handed. They put Kingu on trial for stirring up Tiamat's great rebellion, and they swiftly find the consort guilty and they kill him. From the spilled blood of Kingu, mixed together with the wet clay of the new earth, the wise god Ea shapes the very first humans. Humankind is born not out of love and not out of light, but out of the spilled blood of Tiamat's last and loyal champion. And they are fashioned for one single reason only, to carry the heavy burden of labor so the gods will never have to work again. We ourselves are the labor that sets the gods free, kneaded out of clay and the blood of the loser of a war we never saw. The tablets of destiny, which were once Tiamat's own sovereign power, are bound at last upon the chest of the conqueror Marduk. He fixes the holy tablets over his beating heart, and the long theft of her ancient authority is finally and completely done. The gods crown him with 50 glorious names, the master of all things, and they build him a shining city to be his throne. And every single new year in that proud city, the high priest will stand and recite this whole story aloud from the beginning. Word for word, the priest will sing how the brave hero slew the monster, while the king of Babylon listens and is blessed anew. The story of the wronged mother is reshaped into a glittering hymn of empire, recited each year to keep the conqueror's children in power. Year upon year, the song insists that she was always the chaos, always the ancient enemy, always the thing that simply had to die. And so the mother of everything is carefully written out of her own creation, named a monster in the very world made from her flesh. But a thing as vast as she was can never be wholly erased, and a trace of her survives in places her killer never reached. Far away and long after, in the holy book of another people, the whole world begins again over the face of a great deep. And the name of that deep, that dark and formless abyss that waits before all creation, is an old and salt, bitter echo of her. Tiamat, the mother they split apart, still breathes in every falling rain and still stares up at us from the source of every river. She was never once the chaos the conquerors saw and accused her of being. She was the very first order, and the order they themselves kept. Look up, and the sky is her body, and look down, and the ground is her body, and out of the land her eyes still flow. The monster, it turns out, was only ever the mother, and the whole wide world that we stand upon is still, even now, made of her. And that is why creation has two stories, the one the victors sang and the one still written in her bones.